But that's kind of only the first step. That often can do a lot of things for people, even particularly with web views. But
there's more.
There is a little bit more.
Hey, No Code Ops, Phil here, and today I'm joined by Toby, who's the CEO of Bravo, which is a no-code mobile application builder. Toby, welcome to the show.
Man, nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So can you give us a bit of an overview of Bravo, how it came to be? I'd love to learn more.
Sure. So before Bravo, I was the CTO of Typeform, which is like a online conversational data collection tool. And one of the things that I felt is that you could do more than just data collection. You could kind of go beyond. You could actually build like an application by connecting a UI to an API. And really what Bravo is trying to do is to kind of allow you to build like functionality and complex applications by hooking together APIs and connecting them to like a design. So it's a bit like Zapier in the front end rather than the back end. And so that's really what Bravo is about, particularly focused on design. Really want to make sure that let people do the flexibility they want to have with design, which isn't always looked after well in no code. But yeah, it's really about leveraging design and APIs and bringing them together. And we're focusing on mobile first because we see that as the hardest platform to develop from. Web's there's a lot of great tools for web, but mobile is still a bit
the frontier. Especially
absolutely.
For no code. Would love to just, get right into the product if you want to show us just like an aha moment that a user would have as they're building this opposed to another, no code mobile application builder.
Okay. So what I've got here, this is a Figma screen. So one of the things that we did really early on with Bravo was to work with the design tool. So we don't actually have our own design sort of part of the app of the builder. We leverage design tools. So we deal with Figma and Adobe XD. So you build your application just as you would with wireframes. You create all the screens, and with these tools, you can also even put navigation on. So you can say hitting this button goes to here, and you can kind of really set it up as you would in your application. The only thing about Bravo, the only extra thing you need to do is you need to put some annotations on. So I don't know if you can see here, but this icon here actually has a thing, assets icon as in its title, and that's a Bravo, what we call tag. So it lets you do a few annotations just to help Bravo know exactly what's going on.
This is Figma, but like a Bravo app installed into Figma.
Well, so it's not even an app. So literally it's a standard Figma file. The only thing that's different is the name. We put these tags in the names to help when Bravo looks at it to understand what's going on. So for example,
got it.
This name is just a simple bit of text and the name to say this is an icon. And then I'll just zoom in a little bit here, and you can see this is the menu screen, and we say menu.
So as long as you follow this naming convention, Bravo will be able to pick it up pretty easily.
Yeah, we have certain tags, but yeah, if you put the tags in, then Bravo knows what's going on. So once you've got the app set up, you basically take the URL because it's what makes it really easy in Figma, and then you go to Bravo, and you go to create a new app. So. And what we do then is we basically...
I love that this is this easy, by the way.
Oh, typical.
Typical demo gods.
Yeah. So what we're doing now is we're connecting to that URL in Figma. We're pulling in the assets. We're pulling in the text, how it all navigates. And so we can basically the full structure of the application. So Bravo can work with it. And then what we do actually in Bravo, we've actually written a fully native sort of executor of the application in both Kotlin for Android and Swift for iOS, which means that it's a fully native application and it's kind of just executing the design and then hitting APIs where it needs to. So this is the point where you have an application. So I can just go to publish now and I can actually get an APK for Android or an API for iOS. I can sign it in here and I can actually get a full
And do you help with the submission process at all, or you're just saying, here's the perfect file they need?
So we help a little bit. So by doing the signing, we help with some of the process. We don't get involved too much with the actual submission directly because particularly Apple can be a bit funny about that. And what I can do, if I just switch over the my screen share, I can show you this working on my mobile device, which is connected. Okay, you see?
Oh, super cool.
So
this is the first time I've seen someone screen share their mobile device. This is great.
So you've just seen that's just pulled in. So the app was pulled in. So what this viewer is basically the same as the app would execute. It's just the only extension. This is an app. This is a viewer in the App Store, so you can see your designs. So you can see all of them rather than just the one specific one that you publish. So you can go into that, and this is the aha moment. So this is a fully working application based on Figma. I'm pulling in video from a video feed that was specified in the URL in the Figma file. I can connect. There's obviously those different screens, and then you can even do a web view through to this is like a 360 image viewer. So you can even do, so you actually have functionality directly from a Figma file. So you don't necessarily need to do anything else. So this basically means you can iterate incredibly fast from a Figma file, which most people are already using as their sort of core workflow. So rather than going that kind of handover to devs, you just go, let's just get it done. But that's kind of only the first step. That often can do a lot of things for people, even particularly with web views. But
there's more.
There is a little bit more, but where it gets really quite really flexible is when you connect it up to APIs. So what we actually do is we let you connect any element of that design to an API. So we can pull in images, to pull in text. You can actually have it interactive so that you can specify a text field to be an input field, which we can then send out to an API. We can take images and push that through to an API. So you can really, using your Figma file as a basis, and I'll just show you briefly here, in Bravo, you can connect, this is just like Postman. You can basically set up an API with headers and all the different authentications you need. You can basically say, okay, I want to have, these images. I need to know this text. I need to know this, the scores. I think we've got this somewhere. And you can basically connect that in Bravo. So if I go to the application of that one I've just imported. So I can literally say, okay, I want to connect this text here. So that 2, which is under in the score, so the away team score, I can connect to the, the Euro Cup results. So when it goes to the screen, it will do that. So
this all can be dynamically changing in the application.
Yeah, it becomes fully dynamic, and both pulling content and pushing it back.
So, question, right? So as you're making these, so you're importing this Figma file, right? And then you're making these changes in Bravo. What happens when you want to update things, like a big update from Figma again? So how does that work? Because you've already changed stuff in Bravo.
This is the great thing about Bravo is because you don't change things in Bravo. Because the design is in Figma, if I make a change in Figma, I can just resync it with the application. Which is
so you're limited to how many changes you can make in Bravo. They're more data and workflow based as opposed to design based.
So what happens is you tag the things you want Bravo to be the components, but effectively you're limited by the design. So you make your design and you then say, I want this text to be this. But what you can do is if you've got like a list, we can actually connect the list to like an outline, and it will then reiterate through that list and adding that. So for example, if I had a list of football teams, I could make it so that whole block with a football team name in would be repeated. So the pieces of the design are repeated based on the arrays that come in. So the design becomes completely dynamic based on the API data, not just the text, but also lists and images or whatever else. So it's a fully dynamic application.
And do you support like user logins and permissioning and all that stuff?
We've got logins. I mean, I just go see if I can bring it up. You can see some of those things. So in the actual application setup now, we do login Firebase Auth2 and custom login. So you can do a whole bunch of things. We do deep linking into the application, multi-language, notifications. We do Stripe payments with Stripe. You can do a whole ton of stuff with this. You can do a full application super quickly.
Amazing. This is great. My last big question for you. What do you see as the most common use cases for folks using Bravo, to like top 3 use cases?
So, I mean, I would say we've got users building MVPs. We've got enterprises who use Bravo to help them kind of iterate and test ideas out with real data. We see kind of SMEs kind of building apps for themselves or getting agencies to build apps for themselves, because it means they can, again, they can work really fast on their designs. And I think one of the most interesting ones for me is that, if you've got a web property and you want to put an app, connect an app or have an app augmenting that, it's like you can do it in Bravo in a day. You've probably got the designs in Figma already. You've probably already got a front end React. So you've got APIs. So you can just put the design into Figma, connect up the APIs, and you've got an app you can put in the App Store. So that is a super powerful way of using Bravo.
And you've started mobile first, right? So I'm assuming that the ways that folks can access this are either when they're submitted to the App Store, great, you can get it through the Android or Apple App Store, great. I'm assuming there's a way for someone to directly download it to their device as well, even cutting around that.
Well, so I mean, it's in terms of what we produce, it's an app. So I mean, it's normally in the App Store. You can sideload apps like you do any apps really. So with APKs, you can load them directly. You can sideload them. With iOS, you have to use TestFlight to test them out. But yeah, I mean, it's just a standard app that you would use any other way.
Awesome. And then, is there any web component to these at this point, or not yet?
No, it's fully mobile focused right now, because we see that as being the hardest thing to. Web's something we're looking at doing, because I think this approach also works.
I think it does too. I'm excited for that. You heard it here first. So Toby, thanks so much. This was incredible. How can people find out more?
www.bravostudio.app. That's where we are, and that's the place to go. And we've got loads of material for tutorials, getting up to speed, how to use it, and examples that people have built with Bravo. And people have built some pretty complex applications with this now, so it's getting quite interesting.
Incredible. Well, Toby, thanks so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon.
Great stuff. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Bye.